Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I came home early that night because the foreman called off our last shift. The house was quiet when I stepped in, just the faint sound of Cynthia's laughter upstairs. It used to be the best part of my day. Before I reached the bedroom, her voice cut through the air, sharp, careless, and loud enough to stop me cold. His presence irritates me. I wish he'd just disappear forever. The words hit harder than any punch I've ever taken. I froze where I stood. A man's voice came through the speaker. Patrick. I knew him. He was the project consultant she mentioned a few times, the one who sent her late-night emails and called her genius during meetings. "You'd be free then," he said, his tone smooth, too comfortable. "Exactly," she laughed, that easy, glass-sharp laugh. Free. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not sadness, just an odd kind of stillness. My first instinct was to walk in and demand the truth, but I didn't. I stayed quiet, listening, because the silence told me more than her words ever could. When the call ended, I waited a few seconds, then opened the door. Cynthia looked up from the bed, phone face down, eyes wide for half a second before she smiled. "Martin, you're home early," she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Shift ended early," I said. "Didn't mean to startle you." "You didn't," she replied quickly. I nodded, walked past her, and placed my work bag on the chair. My hands were steady, my voice calm, but something inside me had already begun to move, slow, deliberate, like a gear finally catching. That night, while she scrolled through her phone beside me, pretending to read, I stared at the ceiling and thought about her words. She wished I'd disappear. Maybe it was time to grant her that wish. The next morning, Cynthia acted as if nothing had happened. She made coffee, asked about my work schedule, and mentioned a sale at the furniture store. Her voice was light, rehearsed. I matched her tone, even smiled when she did. But every word felt like dust in my mouth. I spent the day working in the garage. The rhythm helped me think. I didn't plan revenge that day. I planned for clarity. That night at dinner, I asked, "You ever think about taking a trip? Just the two of us. Somewhere quiet." Cynthia looked up from her phone, eyes flickering. "Actually," she said, setting her fork down, "there's this marketing retreat next month. 3 weeks. My boss said it's optional, but it could be great for me." "3 weeks?" I said. "Sounds long for a work trip." She laughed. "You wouldn't understand. It's team building, trust exercises, that kind of thing." I nodded. "If it helps you, go for it." She smiled, relieved, and went back to eating. That night, when she fell asleep, I sat in the hallway and thought about every detail I'd ignored. The sudden perfume she claimed was a gift from a client, the new dress receipts, the long calls that ended when I walked in. In the morning, I checked our shared accounts. The condo was under my name alone, the car too. She'd always preferred I handle the finances, said it made her feel taken care of. I smiled at that. Funny how convenience hides betrayal. I printed the account summaries, call logs, and kept them in a folder inside my tool chest. No shouting, no accusations. Just quiet preparation. For the next week, I watched her drift further away. Every evening, she looked more polished, more distant. She'd hum while texting, laugh at messages she didn't explain. I never asked. Sometimes silence says more than anger ever could. A few days later, I took the morning off and drove across town to meet a lawyer named Anaya Patel. A friend at work had given me her card, said she handled things cleanly. Her office was small but organized. She listened while I told her what happened. I didn't raise my voice, didn't exaggerate. Just the facts, the call, the words, the lie about the retreat. When I finished, she looked at me for a long second, pen resting against her notepad. "You've already made up your mind, haven't you?" she asked. "I have," I said. "Then we'll make this simple. Don't confront her yet. Keep your distance. File while she's away. It's easier to serve papers when emotions are cold." I nodded. "Can I sell the condo?" She flipped through a form. "If it's in your name, yes. As long as there's no pending debt or cosign." I thanked her, signed what she needed, and left with clear instructions. On the way home, I stopped at a real estate office. The realtor, Maya, a polite woman in her 30s, said she could list the condo within 48 hours. That night, Cynthia came home later than usual. She smelled like new perfume again, something floral and expensive. I was sitting at the kitchen table, paying bills when she walked in. "You're up late," she said. "Just sorting things out," I replied. She kissed my cheek out of habit, not affection, and went upstairs humming. I looked at her suitcase she'd left in the hallway. The retreat was 2 weeks away, every detail lined up perfectly. Before going to bed, I logged into our joint account and transferred her allowance into her separate card, leaving the main account under my control. By the time she left for that retreat, every piece would already be in place. I didn't need confrontation. I needed closure. The morning of her trip came fast. Cynthia was in a bright mood, moving around the house in a rush of perfume and heels. She wore a new dress, said it was for professional impressions. I carried her suitcase to the car while she double-checked her phone. On the drive to the airport, she scrolled through messages, smiling to herself. I kept my eyes on the road, asking just enough to sound normal. "So, this retreat, where is it?" "Up north," she said. "Some resort near the lake. Lots of workshops. You'd be bored to death." "Maybe," I said, nodding. When we pulled up to the terminal, she leaned over, kissed my cheek quickly, and said, "Don't wait up for me. I'll call when I land." I smiled once. "Take care of yourself." She walked inside without looking back. I watched her disappear through the sliding doors, then drove to the parking lot 2 blocks away. I sat for a minute. Then I started the engine again. But I didn't drive home. Instead, I headed to Lakeside Haven Resort, a 2-hour drive north. A few days earlier, Cynthia had left a travel brochure from that exact place on the kitchen counter, claiming it was for a client event. I'd noticed she'd even marked a small circle around the resort's name. Cynthia was standing by the lobby fountain, phone in hand, laughing, this time not at a screen, but at Patrick, who was rolling her suitcase beside her. They looked like a couple on vacation. No hesitation, no pretense. I didn't confront her. I just watched. When she leaned in to adjust his collar, I lifted my phone, snapped one clear photo, and turned away. Driving back, the road felt strangely calm. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about precision. By evening, I'd called Maya, the realtor. "List the condo," I told her. "Effective when?" she asked. "Tomorrow morning." Next, I called the car broker I'd spoken to earlier. "I'll bring the sedan in," I said. Everything was ready. All that was left was execution. She wanted me gone. She just didn't know how completely that wish would come true. The day after Cynthia's flight, the condo felt different. It wasn't home anymore. It was a workspace. I moved room to room, clearing what was mine and boxing what was hers. Every perfume bottle, every framed photo, every dress she bought on sale went into labeled boxes. I wasn't angry, just focused. The realtor's photographer came mid-morning. By evening, the listing was live. I accepted the first serious offer within 3 days. Cash, quick close. When the paperwork hit my inbox, I signed it without hesitation. The car went next. The broker looked over the sedan, checked the title, and said, "You'll get a good price for this one." "Sell it fast," I said. He nodded, and I walked out without a backward glance. Anaya called that night. "Your divorce petition is ready. I can file tomorrow. Once she's back, she'll be served through her parents." "Do it," I said. She paused. "You're handling this calmly." "I'm just finishing what she started." The next few days passed like clockwork. Movers came, took her boxes, and drove them to her parents' address. I followed the truck in my pickup, not to oversee, just to make sure it was done. When we arrived, her mother opened the door, confused. "Martin? What's all this?" I handed her a clipboard. "Cynthia's belongings. She'll understand." Her mother looked at me, worried. "Is something wrong?" "No," I said quietly. "Everything's just clearer now." Back at the condo, the rooms were empty. I loaded one last suitcase, her favorite one, into my truck. Inside, I placed a manila envelope with the signed divorce papers and a single note in my handwriting. "You wanted me gone. Now you have your wish." That night, I slept on the floor. When dawn came, I locked the door for the last time and dropped the keys at the realtor's office. Then I drove the suitcase to her parents. By the time Cynthia returned, I would already be gone. No house, no car, no trace. She'd wished for my disappearance. I decided to show her what that really meant. 3 weeks later, while I was already settling into my new place 2 towns over, Cynthia's plane touched down. She must have been smiling when she walked through the terminal, probably picturing herself returning to the same easy life she'd left behind. I heard from Cynthia's mother. She told me that Cynthia had returned from her retreat and gone straight to the condo. She rolled her suitcase to the door and slid her key into the lock, but it didn't turn. She tried again, harder this time. Still nothing. The door opened and a young couple stood there, the wife holding a toddler on her hip. New curtains, new furniture, a different rug. "This is my home," Cynthia said quickly, breath short. "You must be mistaken." The woman blinked. "We just bought this place last week. From a Martin Hayes, I think." Cynthia stepped back, her face draining of color. "No, that can't be right." She looked down the hall, as if I might suddenly appear and explain it was a joke. But I wasn't there. She pulled out her phone and called me. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same result. Then she called her mother. "Mom, there are strangers in my house," she said, her voice breaking. There was a pause on the other end. Then her mother's tone softened. "Come home, sweetheart. You need to see something." Cynthia hesitated, glanced once more at the door that no longer belonged to her, then waved down the same cab. When she arrived, her father was waiting on the porch. He didn't speak, just opened the door and stepped aside. No one said a word at first. Then her father pointed toward the guest room. "You should go see," he said quietly. Cynthia pushed the door open and froze. The room was filled wall to wall with her belongings. On top of one suitcase sat a manila envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside were the finalized divorce papers, stamped and signed. Behind them, a single note. "You wanted me gone. Now you have your wish." Cynthia covered her face, sobbing into her palms. I imagined she replayed it all. The phone call, the lies, the retreat. The look on my face when I said, "Take care of yourself." Maybe she realized I hadn't said it out of kindness. Maybe she finally heard what I'd really meant. Her parents tried to comfort her later, but it didn't matter. The condo was sold, the car transferred, the accounts separated. Everything set in motion, clean and final. I hadn't taken more than what was mine. I'd just taken myself out of her story. That night, she tried to call me. The line didn't connect. She texted once, "Please, Martin, can we talk?" By morning, the divorce was public record. The life she'd built on convenience had vanished without argument or noise, just the quiet precision of someone who finally stopped trying to be understood. Cynthia had wanted freedom. Now she had it, in full. Only freedom isn't much comfort when no one's left to notice it. The place I found wasn't fancy, an old building above a garage, but it had space for a workbench and a single bed. The rent was cheap, the landlord fair. I spent my first week repairing tables for a local shop, taking small jobs that let my hands stay busy and my mind stay clear. One afternoon, a woman named Naomi came by. She ran a small gallery in town and had heard about the man who fixed furniture without leaving a scratch. She watched while I worked, her expression steady. "You build like someone who's had to start over," she said. "Something like that," I replied. She smiled. "Keep doing that. People notice real work." After she left, I stood at the window for a while. The quiet didn't bother me. It felt earned. For the first time in years, I didn't have to explain myself to anyone. A week later, I checked my phone one last time. No messages, no missed calls. I deleted Cynthia's number and wiped the photos from my gallery. I kept only one picture, the one of the Lake Hotel lobby. Not out of anger, but as proof of how easily people hide behind laughter. Cynthia's parents sent a brief email confirming she'd accepted the divorce and taken her belongings from their home. Nothing more needed to be said. A few weeks later, I heard through an old coworker that she'd tried to keep things going with Patrick. It didn't last long. Once her world stopped revolving around lies and convenience, he lost interest. The affair faded faster than it began. No grand ending, just silence. From what I was told, she found a smaller apartment, started a new job, tried to rebuild. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. That part isn't my concern anymore. She once said she wished I'd disappear. So I did, completely. And in that disappearance, I found something she never understood. Peace doesn't come from being loved. It comes from finally walking away when you're no longer seen. Thank you for watching.